So Tiffany, thanks for doing this for FERNTV. I want to first ask you. You have such a great story behind Curastory, of course. Uh, Tell us what inspired Curastory first. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was at ESPN. I was an analyst there, and I was there at a really pivotal, interesting time. My first day at ESPN was the 500-person layoffs that were super big in the media and the press, and Russillo and Cannell, and kind of just these huge anchors being let go by the company. And that was really interesting. I mean, that was my first day there, and kind of being a fresh, this is my job. And I was there for about 2 years, and I think that kind of set the stage for just how traditional media is changing because of the creator economy and because ESPN is now competing with YouTubers and kind of niche media publishers of 2 to 3 people. And so but ESPN was an 8,000 person company at that time, and YouTubers and niche media publishers don't have those types of resources. And so kind of my wheels started turning, and I ended up leaving ESPN January 2019, moved to New York full time, and started building Curastory. But kind of watching the creator economy and how a traditional media company reacted to that was really interesting to kind of see unfold in real time.
So tell us about what you saw in the future at that time with like the creator economy, of course.
Yeah, I saw content consumption changing. Audiences weren't just kind of sitting down at a normal time period watching broadcast or live television anymore. It was more, I'm going to watch content during the time that I have it, and moving more to connected TV and YouTube channels, Reels, TikTok, etc. Those types of platforms. And so that's kind of what I saw at ESPN. And decade-long shows were ending, like Mike and Mike, and those types of really big shows weren't on air anymore. And so just kind of content consumption of audiences being driven away from those types of programming to just watching their favorite YouTubers, their favorite content creators, kind of more of day in the life content, and kind of I would consider it maybe a little bit short form, but anything from like 5 to 10 minutes instead of a full 30-minute to hour programming. So yeah, that is kind of how content has changed, and how audiences were reacting differently, and just their appetites were changing over time. And I knew that the content creators that were providing that type of content needed to be serviced, and they needed tools and enablement platforms to be able to monetize and to create content and pump out content like an 8,000 person media company can.
So tell us, you've got much funding for Curastory. I mean, it's not for every business that they can get that much funding or get that much support, and it's hard to get support from like starting from the ground up. So tell us what you did, of course, and then what you did differently, and some of your influences, people who influence you to get to where you are today.
Yeah, so when I quit ESPN, I didn't have savings to be able to bootstrap the company. We had to raise capital from investors, and I also was challenged with not having a rich network to just lean on to be able to take a 50K, 100K check quickly. And so we actually went straight to our users. We raised what is called equity crowdfunding, where the public can invest in you $100 here, $200 there. And so that was our first check that we did, about 250K, which really was able to allow us to bring on kind of engineering and a design team to build the product that needed to be built. And get our first huge partnership, which our first partnership was with the NBA, and we had about 60 NBA players come on our platform back in 2021, I believe. And so to say that was our first partnership is pretty awesome. But I think that also was kind of from my network at ESPN that I brought over to Curastory, and kind of those contacts that I had. But we wouldn't have been able to service them if we weren't able to raise that initial 250K pre-seed funding, and then we got our partnership with the NBA, and things were going super well. And a few months after that, raised about 2.1 million, and that kind of helped our company go from 2-3 people to 8 people, 8 to 10 people, and then now we have this huge $36 million deal with the Pac-12, which is super exciting, historic partnership that allows all student athletes to monetize their highlights and provide commentary, which is really cool and something that we're going to see throughout the entire sports season this year. And then, yeah, we just closed $6 million in funding as well, and a lot of that because of the $36 million that we were able to get from this huge partnership. So things are great. We're a company of 20 people now, from very humble beginnings, and now just servicing thousands and thousands of creators and allowing them to be able to monetize their own content and have them build their own content in their own way.
So please shed light to all those like entrepreneurs like yourself, or people in like content marketing, sports marketing. What kind of advice would you shed to them in order to get to some of the levels that you've gotten to, of course?
Yeah, I think for founders, don't just build a company without knowing what you need to build. It took us 6 months from when I founded Curastory before we started coding an actual product, that I had user interviews with pro athletes, student athletes, advisors, famous YouTubers, to just really understand kind of the advertising and marketing landscape and content creation and content calendars and just the things that they were doing, and their entire process and the problems within that process and what was taking too much time and what they wanted changed. So I had hundreds of interviews over 6 months to really settle on, okay, this is the product that we have to build. I mean, hundreds of people have said that this is the unique problem that they're having, and so this is kind of what the solution needs to look like. So that's a big point of just kind of feedback, and what I would tell founders is take the time, don't just build the product that you have in your head, actually talk to your users and talk to the market to understand what actually needs to be built.
That's very important. That's very important. So tell us, how does it feel to be here at South by Southwest, and of course, Curastory, your company, being part of South by Southwest?
It's very exciting. It's our first big partnership branding, kind of hosting a huge event. I mean, all of probably the top 5 podcasts in sports are here doing programming on our stage, which is really exciting to kind of see our company logo in the background of these podcasts on Spotify and YouTube and things like that. So it's pretty surreal to be here and kind of see this. And I mean, a lot of people from my former life at ESPN here, and kind of seeing how far I have come, but also the company has come as well. Very surreal.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for inspiring us and inspiring all the founders and, of course, our audience here on FERNTV of such a wonderful story. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.